Alright guys, it's always me the weirdo. I'm just gonna do a short video while I'm here in Trashlantis about the DLC. Basically I've been reading or watching a few videos, so to say, and looking in the comments and seeing what people think of this DLC and what people think of Borderlands 3, and some comparisons they're drawing with Borderlands 2 and the DLC from that, and obviously the Borderlands series in general. Um, but I'm here in Trashlantis going through some of the DLC. It's obviously build up towards the heist. Um, but anyway, just keybind. Okay.
What you hiding?
First things first. My personal opinion. This DLC so far is it's more of the same. It's more Borderlands. It's nothing out of this world. I think the publicity from the Borderlands show was a little bit overexcited about it. I don't. I think people are just excited to have more Borderlands content. I think that's enough if you're a Borderlands fan, and it will be enough for most people. But I think it is feels a little bit like a cash grab. It doesn't feel like part of the Borderlands 3 sort of theme. It feels like it's more of a sort of don't know whether you'd call it a fan love story type, or just a yeah, a sort of thank you to the fans, and last to hopefully now. I don't think this is gonna be the last, but hopefully the last hurrah for Jack. Um, a little bit of a sort of, Moxie fix for those who are massive Moxie fans. Definitely something that adds a little bit of the old characters in here, and just, maybe this is the only DLC that's going to be focused on old characters. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the only DLC that's going to focus on Jack. But Jack is their main draw. They know this, so they're bound to use him.
Suboptimal. Ow, ow, ow. End of line. Launching grenade. Hostility protocols accessed. Critical damage. Society decisions. Do not live. This will just...
Let's crack on!
Right.
G. Intense cold. Speed decrease. Please stop. That hurts. Why me?
I'm trying to think. Not gonna lie, it's not as easy as on Borderlands 2 to just crack on.
Please lower the voltage termination.
Right. So I'm just gonna collect these up.
Looks like you got enough of those power cells. That should do it. Bring them to me when you get the rest of the parts.
Right. So, new characters in the DLC, pretty good. As you just heard there, that's Freddy. I won't trying not to spoil anything apart from what's on screen. So obviously, if you don't want to see, this is the story mission. So if you don't want to see any spoilers, you might be better off playing the game, playing this DLC first, or alternatively, just watch it anyway, and then don't play the DLC for a while, and then by the time it comes around, you'll probably forget that you watched this. But essentially, I think a lot of people are saying it's too short. Personally, it's about 12 quid on its own. and part of a £20. Well, £20 from if you count the game as £60 and the season pass as £20 if you get the Super Deluxe edition, or I think it might be 20-30 quid, no more than 40 quid. So it's no more than a tenner in the season pass if you buy the season pass separately. It's definitely worth a tenner. Yeah, some cosmetic items. There's plenty of loot. There's a couple of good guns that I've picked up that I one of which I am using. This gun, which if you look there, it's got different.
Is this what death feels like?
It's got different. What do you call it? Different options when you reload, like a slot machine type thing. I'm not sure what all the options are, how they work. I just know that it can become a really powerful gun.
Ow, ow, ow. The spark dies. I do not want this back. Heavily damaged. Scream.
A bigger mug to bloody my knuckles.
Corrosive damaging yours and no finest. Oh no. Intense score. Speed decreasing. Hostility propels your weakness and die. Icing. Oh, radiation. No. Intense cold firing. Wiring. Ice. Snow. Like me. Corrosive weaponry in play. Systems. Die. 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 Guess you have the weekend. Protector.
Ow!
For the love. This is old. Ow. Ow. Proceed. Yuck. Divine wheels engaged. Radiation by metal. By semi. Precious metal. Is this
That was
what
all
death
me.
feels like?
So as I was saying, most people are comparing it to Borderlands 2 DLC and hoping that it's going to be better than Borderlands 2 DLC. Some people saying that Borderlands 2 DLC basically slating Borderlands 2 DLC, that other people praising it. I'm like, don't get me wrong, like, I can appreciate people gonna have different opinions, but for me, like, somebody said that they didn't really like Sir Hammerlock's DLC, thought it was really like it didn't have a story to it or anything, and it was just random crap. And I was like, well, yeah, maybe it was random and that, but it was freaking amazing. It's one of my favourite DLCs. But, like, what I don't think is you can expect, like, a fully fleshed out extension to the campaign in a DLC. You will get a little bit of a story, much like this. And I'm gonna go in here, because why the fuck not? Huh. Well, that felt like a real waste. Oh well, never mind. It was worth a shot. So, my main issue with this DLC though so far, and this is kind of enforced by the YouTubers that I've been watching comment on the DLC and comment on the game and the state of play at the minute. Everybody wants it to be harder. Everybody says it's too easy on Mayhem 4. Now, I've not really played Mayhem 4 apart from a touch Mayhem 4 earlier on today with a couple of buddies on this DLC at the beginning of this DLC, and I honestly did feel like it was manageable with the three of us. It still felt like enemies were just massive bullet sponges. Didn't feel like it was challenging in any other way really, and that's kind of why I'm gonna say this. Bullet sponging needs to become a thing of the past. Like, I don't mind if an enemy has more health, that's fine. But if I don't become more powerful to match that, I feel like it's just a cheap way of increasing the difficulty. It doesn't really work. If I have to think and find something, I'll get frustrated and I'll be pissed off that it's not like straightforward, because we all grew up on Mario and stuff where everything was laid out and it was very rare that you had a secret you couldn't find because you just went forward. Admittedly, I'm talking not from experience but from other people finding games like this fairly easy. Nowadays, the only way it seems Borderlands ever gets tough is by whacking a massive shield round an enemy, or having them fly, or having them bullet sponge to fuck. And bullet sponging is my least favourite mechanic in Borderlands. I think I wouldn't mind it if you could get the loot in order to compensate for that, but Borderlands has a habit of not learning from the mistakes of Destiny and other looter shooters since the last Borderlands. They're making the same mistakes. They're making people grind out for days on end trying to get the better loot in order to actually like progress with it. Don't get me wrong, I really like Borderlands. I'm not dissing it. It's an awesome game, but I just think that they need to focus more on making the experience fun for everyone than making the experience fun for the small minority that get to the end game and annihilate everything. Because I don't like how I feel like half of the loot in order to get the legendaries that you want is siphoned off into Mayhem 3 and 4. Now, I get that some of it needs to be in Mayhem 3 or Mayhem 4, but it feels like I don't get many legendaries at all until I get to like Mayhem 3 or 4. And when we played 4, they were dropping all the time out of ammo crates and everything, and that was brilliant. I love that mechanic. Now, we did comment on it saying it's a bit silly that you can just get loot out of an ammo chest or something like that. That's a bit strange. Is it by design? Are you meant to have that? Is it meant to provide some wow moments? Is it a bug? I don't know, but it felt a bit easy to get them out of there. It meant that we weren't killing any enemies and we were getting it. But then again, you look at the other side of the coin and you go around and you kill boss after boss after boss, and sometimes you don't get a legendary, which I think is a bit cheap, and a way of making people play the game more. Now, I would hazard a guess that they haven't really thought too much about it. But for me, why would you be bothered about holding back loot for players across the board on Mayhem 4 or Mayhem 3 even at this point? And why would you be bothered about not giving loot to people when they're fighting bosses and stuff, when in reality they're working for it? And most people who play Borderlands will play it from whenever they get it till probably the time they get the next one. They might not play it all the time, they might dip in and out, but the lifespan of Borderlands series games is phenomenal. It is so like constant. I don't see why you would need to be stingy with the loot. And in fact, I think it'd be detrimental to the lifespan of the game if you are stingy with the loot. And the whole the mechanic with the takedown that's going to be up until the 31st, it's going to be scaled to your party level. Well, yeah, that's how it should be. That's not something you should be doing for a timed event. That is how it should be, because people can't be bothered playing the takedown because they don't get it. They can't do it because they're not obsessed with builds. And I think that's the thing that Randy and the guys need to learn, is not everybody is that deep into the game and that obsessed with the game. Even as a massive fan, I am not that deep into the game and that obsessed with it that I can be bothered going through and farming all the gear and making sure I've got the best possible build. I just want to play it. And that's where the nerfing came in as well. You think that everybody's like that, or if you don't think that everybody's like that, you act like you think everybody's like that. Because the only reason you would nerf all of these different guns is because there's a bunch of try-hard sweats that are using all the best guns and telling everybody else to go for the best guns, and then nobody's using any other guns. Because there's a lot of people out there, much like myself, who just don't change guns because they get a gun that they like and it works. Why would they want to change the guns, and why should they? They shouldn't have to change the gun because you've decided you want to make that gun weaker. No, you should make the other guns better. Now, I get why you do it. I don't agree with it, but at least consider doing it the other way around, or at least consider stopping messing about with the guns until all the DLC has been out for a bit and everybody's had a chance to play with all their guns. At least let people find a gun that they like and play the game and enjoy it with that gun. And if they want to find any other guns, they can choose to go and find those other guns. Watch YouTube videos and find those other guns. I myself have gone and looked for the flakka, found a flakka, got a burning flakka, tried it. I'm not overly keen on it. It's okay, it's definitely useful for certain situations, but because this game is centered around getting literally the best pieces of loot you can find in order to beat the top tier content, I kind of feel a bit boxed out at the minute in that I can't actually fully enjoy the game because there's too much content out there where people are saying it's too easy. And I'm not saying it isn't for those people, but I'm saying there is not just one type of gamer with Borderlands. There are a lot of people, and I'm sure Randy and the guys are well aware that there are players who just beginners, or they're not anal, they don't get into the builds, they just put the points where they want to put them, and they just go out there and they just do their best. And that is, to me, the key demographic they need to please. Not the YouTuber who's grinded out 20 million hours on the game already, and I'm exaggerating, but they've grinded out their whole life on this game since it came out, and they just don't know. They're just getting bored of it, or they need more from it, and therefore they want it to be more challenging, or they want more content and more loot that's specifically only attainable through battling the hardest enemies. That's fine, but don't penalise everybody else because there's a small group of people out there who are trying so hard that they've already broke the game. If you've broke the game and you've completed everything and you're playing on Mayhem 4 and you're finding it rubbish, by all means, tell them that you want it to be harder. But I really don't think that Gearbox needs to be focused on those people. I think they need to be focused on the players that aren't really reaching Mayhem 4 and find out why they're not reaching Mayhem 4. Because, I mean, I'm not reaching past, unless I'm with friends, I can't reach Mayhem 4 on my own. I mean, I can barely reach Mayhem 3 at the minute, and Mayhem 2 is still tough on my own. It's just I'm not actually I'm not doing the whole content, and I can't do anything on Mayhem if it's like meant to be a boss or a slaughter shaft or anything. The only thing I can really do on Mayhem 1, 2, or 3 or 4 is like just random world quests or whatever, just pissing about in the general game. But it looks like we're going into a boss fight here, so let's have a look.
Holy crap! Those claptrap units survived the Great Purge! Better purge them yourself.
It's possible you picked the wrong battle. Death comes for us all. But you first. This will be just for the crack.
What? This is awesome.
Thank you! Friends, kill each other. We are the live even. Come closer, Did you read my e-bike? Finally, you are. Did you read my e-bike? Slashy, slashy, bonsai! Kill each other! Yes! Yes! I have no friends, and I must leave! I'm dying!
That wasn't so hard now, was it?
Wanna kill me now, don't you? I came back wrong! Look at me! I'm dying! I'm dying!
Are you seeing this? Open your bloody eyes! Just need something between me and your breath.
That claptrap unit dropped its AI chip. Freddy can get that running in the constructor lickety-split. Now we just need that constructor eye.
All right.
Unfortunately, the Constructor Eye is in the hands of one Tony Bordell, a ruthless gang leader who hoards shiny baubles in his fortress nearby. You'll have to do some thieving to retrieve it.
Oh, my veins! Oh, nuts.
Tony was once one of us. We exiled him after he went mad with capitalist fraud. He vowed revenge and has been trying to destroy Trashlantis ever since.
Right, so yeah, so I mean, honestly, I think we've nothing to worry about with the DLC. This DLC is pretty good. It's not like the Tog DLC, although there are similarities. It's not like Tiny Tina, Assault on Dragon's Keep. It's not like Chromorax. It's not like, it's not got Pyro. It's not got Raid Boss. You know, from what I've heard from other people, that is, because I haven't fully, as I say, I haven't fully explored this DLC yet. But
Time to break through.
it's funny. It's got Jack. It's got Moxie. It's got some new characters. It's got Timmy, who is the clone of Handsome Jack. It's got it's got some cool loot. It's got a whole new sort of map to explore. This is obviously, it's the space station, and there's sections to it. There's fast travels, there's different areas. It's definitely got a lot to it that's worth exploring and makes it worth the money. But my only issue with the DLC as a whole is, if what people are saying is true, and it is a bit on the short side, and it is, shall we say, lacking in maybe a raid boss of some description or some whatever, like, technically we've got the takedown for that. Is it really that big of a deal?
Tony Bordell's Fortress of Greed is sealed up tight. You'll have to find another way in.
You know, it's also a little bit of a cash grab to some people, and I can totally see that. But let's wait until the new year and see what happens with... there's going to be news on the DLC roadmap, what's going to happen with that. It's definitely worth waiting and having a look. If you haven't bought the Season Pass yet and you're still having fun playing the base game, maybe you wait for that Borderlands show episode to come out. Somewhere around the 22nd of January, I think. Personally, I've already got the Season Pass through the Deluxe Edition, and I'm quite happy that I've got it, because I know that I want more Borderlands. Even before Borderlands 3 came out, I was going back to Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, because I haven't really fully played all them.
Do not look away!
I will summit your mountainous beasts and claim them mine! I am not a damn child!
All I want to know from you guys in the comments is what you think of the DLC, what you think of the Borderlands 3 base game. Draw your own comparisons, if you will, with Borderlands 1 and 2, pre-sequel included. Are you looking forward to the season of new DLC? There's 3 more add-ons to come. There's probably going to be more. It doesn't feel big enough to be a campaign DLC, so is this an extra one? I don't know. But if it is one of the 4, it's still an okay size.
It's too much.
I'll kill you!
Hold my blood.
the gunplay. Everybody's commenting on the gunplay. But yeah, I'm gonna stop this. I'm gonna probably carry on playing, but I just wanted to do a little bit of a ranty video really about the state of the DLC and the state of the game. I think if they fix the laggy menus for me on PS4 and they stop messing around with the guns and just leave them for at least until all the DLC's out, if they just leave them, unless there's something that's unerringly broken, and even then it's PvP, it's not PvP, so stop pissing about with it. It doesn't need it. Yes, you might think it needs balancing because, oh, you want the best experience. Not everybody has the same thoughts on the best experience. So if you just leave it, then if people don't like it, then they can come back to it at a later date. And mark my words, they will if they're Borderlands fans, because most Borderlands fans I know play it and play it and play it, and then they go off and they play other games when other games come out. And then when they get bored of those games, the game they come back to, most of the time, is Borderlands. But yeah, so I will catch you guys later. Hope you enjoyed this little rant. Feel free to sound off in the comments. Hopefully, you enjoyed my little rant, or you've got something out of it. I mean, personally, if you don't agree, that's fine. Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments. And as I said, I'm always Mute the Weirdo. So, take care, and I will catch you in the next one.